First of all, I'd like to do an acknowledgement. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and future. I'd like to extend that respect to Aboriginal peoples present today. I'm proud to be hosting this event as part of the 2025 New South Wales Small Business Month programme in partnership with the New South Wales Small Government. So let's kick off today with a poll to see where everyone is at. So if your website was hacked tonight, what would you do first? So in the chat, if you want to click one of the numbers, put a 1 for I know exactly what to do, a number 2 for I'd probably Google it, number 3 I'd call my hosting company, and number 4 honestly I would have no idea what to do. So put a 1, 2, 3 or 4 in the chat just now. Let's see where people are at. And number 4, wonderful to be truthful, absolutely. Number 2, probably Google it. Yep, I'd probably do the same. Anyone else? You don't have to, that's all right. So we've got a bit of a range. Number 2, Google it. 4, honestly, I've no idea. Yep, that's fair enough. That's kind of what I'd expect. Let me just introduce myself a little bit before we go on. Hi, I'm Will Brown. I'm a WordPress consultant and educator. I've been working with WordPress since about 2006. But these days, I spend most of my time helping small business owners simplify their websites, keeping them secure, fast, and easy to manage. I also run a few local community meetups where we help each other learn and grow, as well as national conferences such as WordCamp Sydney and the Linux conferences as well, everything open. So I have seen how stressful it can be when websites go down. I've had one of my websites go down in the past. It's not just the tech, it's your reputation and income on the line as well. So that's why I love helping small business owners feel confident managing and protecting their websites. Now, if you want to get in contact with me after this webinar, you can visit my website, zeropointdevelopment.com, or you can email me personally. That's will with 1 L at zeropointdevelopment.com. So let's jump into the goodies, shall we? I'll just get rid of myself. There we go. Okay, so let me set this up for you. Now, you might think I'm a small business. Who would even bother attacking me? But that's exactly why many small businesses get targeted. Malicious actors, those hackers, they don't really pick fights. They're looking for soft entry points. So in this portion, I'll walk you through why your business is at risk, what's on the line, and why staying calm really matters more than ever. Now, just a little bit of a caveat. I'll talk about WordPress throughout this, but it's not WordPress specific. So these tips and techniques that I'm going to share, these are relevant to if you're on Squarespace, if you're on Wix, if you're on any other system. So I will use some WordPress specific examples, but they can be exchanged for anything on these other systems. So this is very, very kind of general cybersecurity for websites. Okay, so why small businesses are attractive targets? They're a bit of a low-hanging fruit. Automation and scale. So hackers deploy automatic tools that can scan thousands of websites in minutes for common vulnerabilities, things like outdated plugins, weak login credentials, misconfigured servers, things like that. Small businesses usually have lower defenses. So the big organizations, they usually invest in dedicated IT security. Small businesses frequently don't or just can't afford it. Overlooked maintenance. So many smaller sites are set and forget. So weak passwords, expired SSLs, plugins that haven't been updated or tested in many months or even years. I've come across those. So those are kind of the lower hanging fruit that most small business owners, they're focused on running their business and they don't really have much time to go and check that their website is all secure. So what are the real costs when a website is hacked. This is the kind of emotional and business impact part. So downtime equals lost revenue, of course. So even an hour offline can mean missed sales, missed leads, or service disruptions. And for maybe a small e-commerce store or a local service website, that can really ripple across the whole day. Lost trust and reputation. So your brand perception can take a hit. Customers can question the security of their own data if you're allowing them to upload data, for example, a WooCommerce profile, things. Word of mouth, their website got hacked, maybe they're careless. And of course, rebuilding that trust is really, really much harder after a hack. Then you've got recovery and cost time as well. So even taking the site down and restoring it, you're going to spend hours to do that, coordinate with the host, developer, all these things. So all these hidden costs can really, really pile up. You could be in a position where you're regulatory, legal compliance exposure as well. So in some industries, data breaches can trigger obligations such as privacy laws, notification of duties, things like that. So even if your business is small, a breach in personal data, like customers' names, emails, might require a disclosure in your jurisdiction. Some stats. So I put some stats on screen. There's lots more. And what I'll do is I'll make these slides available after the webinar on a page on my website, and they've got links to stats and things as well, so you can go and get more information. But the average cost of a cyber attack in Australia, small, medium businesses, 2025 this year, is estimated at 122,000, with 60% of small businesses closing after 6 months of the attack. And that is really scary. I mean, costs can really mount up, especially if you're legal and regulatory. Make that a little bit bigger for you. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the ABS data, more than 1 in 5 businesses, 22% reported experiencing a cybersecurity incident in 2021 to 2022, and that was up 8% from the previous couple of years. And in recent reports, they show that small business cyber incidents are actually increasing. Small business cyber crimes increased 8% year on year, with an average cost of the incident roughly $50,000. And Mastercard themselves, they report that up to 309,000 Australian small businesses said they've been targeted by cyber attacks, and of those, 33% claim financial loss. That's just scary stats. There's lots more, so I won't go on because they just get worse and worse. But a couple of things to say around that. When something bad happens, reaction without a plan leads to mistakes. So deleting things, making wrong restores, introducing new vulnerabilities, we don't want that. So what we do want is good planning. We want to be calm, have a good mindset, and employ a faster and safer recovery process because you know what you're doing. So you won't always prevent hacks, but you can control how that you respond to these hacks. So this session is all about giving you that control. It's a practical, realistic roundup that you can follow when you're under that pressure. So within that background, the small businesses are targets. The cost can be real, could be considerable, and that what you do first is really, really critical. So let's dive into the 1 hour emergency plan that you can apply, even if you suspect that your site is being compromised. Now, let me tell you a quick story. It's very typical of what I see across small businesses here in Sydney, New South Wales. Local Sydney Mexican food truck business. They had 2 trucks that traded at the weekend markets, and they had a small brochure-style WordPress website. It listed their weekly schedule, so where they'd be, what times, where the trucks would be. They operated on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mostly. That's where the main revenue was. So the owners were flat out running their businesses. So website maintenance had slipped. Plugins hadn't been updated in months. I think 7 or 8 months, that sort of time scale. And some were known to have security vulnerabilities. This is why you need to keep things up to date. So what happened? Midday, one Friday, they noticed that their phones had gone quiet. No online orders, which was a bit weird, a bit unusual. You just have no phone calls at all. And come lunchtime, no big queues were outside the truck. And that was a big red flag. So when they checked the website, everything looked fine, but behind the scenes, the attackers had slipped in a few nasty surprises. They had put a crypto miner hidden on the homepage, and they only had a few pages on the website, but they put a crypto miner on the homepage. What that does is it hijacks the visitor's devices and actually mines bitcoins. A big sign of that is if you visit a website and you suddenly hear your laptop or computer fan go into overdrive, it goes, then that's usually the sign that there's some sort of crypto miner on that page, and they steal the resources of your computer, and then they use that to go and mine cryptocurrency for them to make money. They did notice a change. The event schedule page had been changed, so it had wrong times and it had wrong locations for both trucks. Now, that's a bit atypical. Usually when hackers hack a small business website, they don't really touch anything. They install malware or they do some stuff in the background. They're basically using the website as a transport for other stuff. But in this case, the person had nefariously went in and just changed the schedule for whatever reason they wanted to do that. So by Saturday, the next day, regular customers, had shown up to the wrong park. No food truck. Assumed that the business was stopped trading or something had happened to that. So trust down. The impact, though, the owner told me that they had lost the whole entire weekend trade. It's approximately $6,000 to $7,000. Now that's not just website downtime. That's real world financial loss, plus hundreds of dollars in food waste as well, and a big dent in the customer trust. This is a real story happened a couple of years ago. They also had to pay for urgent help from me to clean and restore the site, recommunicate with their audience as well, and reassure the customers through social media. So it was a huge thing to do. It was a big loss for them across all sectors, not just financially. The site had no regular backups, so we had to wait until business hours in America, because they had a host in America, to contact their web host support and just kind of pray that they had a backup, which thankfully they did. Not all web hosts take regular backups. Most do, but thankfully we did get some backups from there. I removed all the vulnerable plugins. I installed WordFence, a security monitor, and enabled what we call two-factor authentication. And I'll go into that a little bit later and tell you what that means. But basically, we had, within 2 days, the site was clean. The schedule was back online, proper schedule. And the owner learned how to run updates safely and keep backups offsite all by themselves. Just a process that they did every week. So the key point here really is a website hack doesn't just hit your site, it hits your income, your reputation, your customer relationships. So it's all intertwined together. It's a bad experience for everyone, basically. So that's why having an emergency plan isn't really optional. It's an insurance for your livelihood, your business. And that brings us to why it's not just about fixing things when they break, but it's having a clear plan ready before anything goes wrong. So let's talk about the 1 hour emergency plan. Let me just make that big so you can see everything. There we go. Okay. So before we get into the steps, a quick note. Oh yes, I said this before. So I'm going to use WordPress as examples today. You've already heard me mention a plugin. But whether you're on Squarespace, Shopify, Wix, or something else, the principles are identical. Every website, big or small, runs on logins, updates, and backups. So this plan can work for you no matter what platform that you're going to use. Okay, so here are the steps. Step 1, stay calm. The very first thing to do actually is nothing dramatic. So we don't throw up our hands in the air, we don't run around, we just, take a step back, take a deep breath, and then let's just say, I've got a plan for this, let's put it in action. So actually most damage happens because business owners tend to panic. They start changing passwords, they reinstall plugins, they delete things, and in doing so, they kind of wipe all the evidence that could help them fix it. So take a deep breath, grab a coffee, because we're going to be in it for an hour, and just remember that you've got some options, you've got this plan that you're following. So step 1, stay calm. Step 2 is go offline if you can. So your goal in the first few minutes isn't to fix anything. It's to stop the bleed. If your host gives you a suspend site or a maintenance mode, you can flick that on. The shop visitors, it stops the visitors, from getting infected or seeing something embarrassing while you're kind of actioning this planning and getting help. Now, if you're on managed hosting, you can simply contact the support and say, please isolate my site. I think it's been compromised, and they'll know what to do. But in most cases, even when visitors are locked out of your website, when you've got it in this lock mode, then you can usually log in as an admin and still view the site, and we'll do that next. So if you're able, you can also post a temporary holding message, say something like, we're performing urgent maintenance. It kind of shows professionalism and it prevents rumors, and at least people are not seeing anything bad. You're in control of that situation. So here's a pro tip. Most reputable hosts have a 24/7 chat support. So even if you can't get them by the phone, have a look on their site to get the chat, and they'll rather isolate your site for a few hours than have it sending out spam and malware, because the hosts themselves don't want to be responsible for infecting other people. So yeah, do try and get in contact with your web host as step 2. Try and bring your website out of public view. So we call that maintenance mode, if that's possible. If not, again, if it's possible, put up some sort of holding screen, or ask your web host to put up a holding screen that just says you're doing some sort of update maintenance, and it will be online shortly. So step 1, stay calm. Step 2, try and go offline if you can. Step 3 is the vital next part. Now, if you're not able to go completely offline, then that's okay. You can go straight to this one here. And this one's called capture the data. So capture what you see. So the next one is to grab screenshots, or even just take your phone if you don't have to do screenshots, and do some snaps of what you're seeing on the front end of your website if there's anything weird happening. It could be things that look a bit off, strange pop-ups, maybe new users in your admin list, weird file names in your media folder, anything that just looks a bit off. Now, it sounds small, but those details can really save your developer or host hours and hours of detective work later. So think about a little bit like an insurance claim. The clearer the record, the faster the fix. So number 3 is to not panic. It's to capture the data. Take lots of screenshots, lots of phone videos or something in the different areas of your website that looks a little bit weird. And again, that just gives the developer, the host, a little bit of information to help narrow down and to see exactly where this is happening. Now, a little bit of a side thing. I'll stop here in the steps. The food truck, what had happened was, when we looked at it, when I went in, I could see the schedule had obviously changed. The owner said the schedule had changed. So I was able to, because it's running WordPress, and WordPress keeps what we call unlimited versions of those. I was able to look through previous versions and see when that page was updated. And that gave me a particular date. I could see that it was updated by somebody called, it said undefined. So somebody had managed to create a new user through a vulnerable plugin. They had actually uploaded a bit of script and executed that, ran that on the web server, which allowed them to create an admin user. They'd logged in, they changed that, they'd installed the crypto, they changed that schedule page because some sort of weird kick that they got, I guess. But that gave me a date that I could then go and look in the log files and see roughly what had happened. I found out how they'd uploaded this vulnerability. So take on all that information and giving it to somebody who's looking and trying to fix the website. That's really, really, really important. Okay, so step 4 is don't unplug everything yet. Now, you might be tempted to start deleting plugins, rolling backups immediately, but hold off on that. You can't fix what you don't understand straight away. And once you wipe the evidence, that's it. It's usually gone, or you make matters a little bit worse. So containment first, diagnosis next, and cleanup comes after we know what we're dealing with. So step 5 is tone and reassurance. So I've helped business owners through this exact stage dozens of times. The ones that generally stay calm get back online quicker, spend less money, and usually keep more of their data intact. The panic clickers, they often make things worse. They delete backups, or they reinstall something that is really, really old and just makes things worse. If you can, send out a communication to your customers, letting them know that there's a problem, an issue, and that you're working to resolve it. And that could just be that holding page. Just say, look, we're preferring vital updates on our website, and we'll be back online as soon as possible. Silence is the worst thing you can probably do, because it doesn't instill confidence in anyone. So this first step, step one, is about fixing. So it isn't about fixing, it's about containing, freezing the situation so it can't get any worse. So that's all you need to remember when your website starts to act strange. Pause, isolate, and document. So once you've contained the problem and taken a few deep breaths, then we can start to look under the hood. So step two is where we do the detective work. 5 quick checks, that'll tell you really what's going on. So step two is run your first 5 checks, and we'll look through these checks now. So now that you've contained the situation, it's time to play detective. These next 5 checks, they will help you figure out what's happening, how to do the deep dive as the problem goes on. You don't need to be technical. You're just gathering clues at this stage. So think of it a bit like a checklist for your mechanic. So you're noting what's wrong before deciding what to repair. Okay, let's have a look. Here we go. So step one, sub-step one is check the logins. So who's logged in? So start by logging into your website dashboard if it's still accessible, and look at your list of users or admins. If you see accounts that you don't recognize, like strange usernames or accounts with admin privileges, that's a big red flag. So you want to be documenting that. WordPress doesn't natively record who logs in. I'm not sure about Squarespace and Wix if they have records the same. But you can install a little plugin if you are running a WordPress called Simple History. It quietly logs who logged in, when, and what they did on the website. It's really lightweight. It doesn't slow down your site, so it's a good one to leave running long term. You can install it from the admin plugins dashboard simply by typing in Simple History. And then you've got that evidence that you can then go and have a look at and see who's logged in, who's done what on your WordPress website. Okay, so if you can't get into your site, your host may be able to check the access logs for you. So every time something happens on a website, when people are visiting, uploading, downloading stuff, it's all recorded in server logs. So maybe your web host can have a look through those and see if they can see anything a bit weird, a bit different. So that could be a good place for you to figure out what had happened. So step two is password reuse. So be honest with yourself. If your site is compromised, one of the first questions you should really be asking yourself is, did I reuse this password somewhere else? Now, many hacks come from password leaks in unrelated systems, maybe not the site itself. So this is why I use tools like Bitwarden. So I use Bitwarden, but there's other tools like 1Password. They really do matter. They help generate unique passwords, unique long passwords, so that one leak doesn't open every door. So if you, again, be honest, if you are that person who finds it difficult remembering passwords and you use the same password for everything, it's time to kind of break that functionality and look at using a password tool like Bitwarden or 1Password. Now, the rising credential stuff in attacks. So attackers use leaked credentials from other sites to log into admin panels. Now, it's not just, if you are running the WordPress stack, it's not all about WordPress. You've got WordPress as your front end, but then you've probably got things underneath like FTP. You've maybe got your cPanel or control panel or your web hosting dashboard that you log into. You've maybe got an email server that you're logging into as well. So ensure that you don't use the same password for each of these services. Okay, so step three is plugin and theme status. So next, open your plugins or extensions list and look for anything that's showing as outdated. The most common entry point is an old plugin with a known vulnerability. There's databases out there that show plugin vulnerability, so it's easy for a hacker just to look at those, compare versions, and say, right, I know exactly how to exploit that problem to get into that website. Okay, so here's an example. If you go into your plugins page, you can see that these two plugins need an update. So you want to be checking that regularly and just making sure those are all updated. Anything you haven't used in months, deactivate it. That's probably, it's like leaving an unlocked shed door. You don't want to give the hackers any way to get into your website. So make sure everything's updated. If there's a plugin you don't use, delete it and remove it from the system. Step 4 is domain and Google warnings. So check your domain and the search presence as well. Now you can do this. I'll just make this big so you can see. You can do this by using Google itself. So what you do is you go into Google and you type site, so the word site with a colon, and then you type in your domain name, so yourwebsite.com, and then you press return. And what you'll see is if you see any odd results like random pages, pharmaceutical links, missing links, it could indicate SEO spam. Also check if browsers or Google Search Console, if they're flagging stuff on your site as deceptive or contains malware, you'll probably see a big red screen, or your visitor will see a big red screen to say that the site contains malicious links, things like that. So don't panic. It can all be cleared once the site is clean, but it's important to make a note of that now so we can then go back once it's fixed and clear up all that mess. Number 5 is email or traffic anomalies. So finally, take a quick look at your email and your search traffic using Google Analytics. Are you suddenly getting weird delivery failure messages, or are you getting spam complaints? That could mean that your domain is being used to send junk mail in the back end. Again, your website might look fine from the front end, but these hackers could be using it to send out malicious emails and other things like that. So check your emails to see if you get like do not replies or out of office messages or stuff like, or complaints. If you've got analytics installed, look for traffic spikes from countries that you don't usually see. Those patterns will help your developer understand what kind of attack this really is. So the key point here really is you can't fix what you don't understand. So these 5 checks in this second step give you facts before you act on this. Now, once you've gathered this info, who logged in, what's outdated, any odd traffic, it's time to reset control. So step 3 is all about reclaiming access safely so that you can, you're the only one that's in control, you're the only one with the keys. So step 3, reset and access safely. Now, once you have contained the issue and checked what's going on, the next step is simple but crucial. You need to make sure that only you have the keys to your website. So this step is about resetting access safely. It's not just about changing passwords. Think of it like rekeying the locks in your shop after a break-in. So again, 5 steps here. Change all admin passwords everywhere. So again, as I said previously, start with your website's admin login page, change the password for there, but then work your way down the stack. So FTP, your domain registrar, your email accounts, everything that's linked to your website. Hackers often try to pivot. If they can get into your host, then they can re-upload malware even after you clean the website. So make sure that full stack is all the passwords are changed for those. And don't reuse your old password, generate a completely new one. So I recommend when you're generating passwords that you use at least 16 characters, like random characters, not memorable. Or if you want something to remember, you can use 4 short random words altogether, capitalized with a number at the end. So non-related, just random words. And that it helps you remember, and it is as secure as the random numbers. But make sure you never to store it or write it down in plain text. Store it in the password manager, it's fine, but don't write them down on a, don't use one of the pads and stick it to your monitor or something like that. Just get rid of the whole security. Okay, so number 2 is use a password manager. Talked about that just a few slides ago. Now, I know remembering these long passwords, if you're using 16 character random letters and numbers and stuff, it sounds impossible to remember, and that's a good point because it's good for security. But in a bad point, obviously, if you're managing lots of different systems with lots of different passwords, it sounds impossible to keep track of those. So password managers, that's where they come in. I personally use Bitwarden. I did use LastPass for a while, but they actually got broken into. Although I don't think anyone ever unencrypted the password database stuff that they had, but they did manage to break in and steal some data anyway. So I moved to Bitwarden. But you can use 1Password as well. It just saves your sanity. It uses strong, unique passwords securely, and it autofills them when you need them as well. So you log into your master password, and then you've got all these logins at your fingertips securely. It's only downloaded and encrypted on your local machine when you're actually using it. So all the top password managers use end-to-end encryption, so even they can't see what your passwords were. It's one of the safest moves that you can make. I started using a password manager in 2008. So I currently use Bitwarden. It's an absolute game changer. So I can generate 16 or 24 character passwords, random letters or numbers in just a couple of clicks. And that's longer than most hackers' patience, to be honest. Plus, it's got an authenticator app. Bitwarden has an authenticator app, which we're going to talk about in step 3. So that's a handy segue. So next, you want to enable multi-factor authentication. Sometimes it's called 2FA, sometimes it's called MFA, but it means that even if someone steals your password, they can't log in without your phone or a one-time code. I think I've got a screenshot for that. Yes, I do. So if you are using WordPress, the WordFence security plugin has this built in. The free version has it built in. So you can connect it to a free app like Google Authenticator, Authy, or the Bitwarden Authenticator app itself, and both take about a couple of minutes to set up. So here we are. So we've logged into WordPress using our username and password, and now it's asking for a 2FA, a two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication code, which you then go to your phone, you pull up the app on there, and you see all these random numbers. They cycle every 30 seconds. It's usually 6 numbers that you type in, and with that code, you can then log in. But the whole idea is that username and passwords, hackers can guess or bots can guess, but they don't have this code that's on your personal device. So that's a good thing to have. The analogy, so think of MFA as a second deadbolt on your front door. You can pick one lock, but you're not going to get through both. Okay, let's get rid of those. Step 4 in this one is clean up user accounts. So while you're in the admin area, remove any users that you don't recognize or who no longer need access, specifically for admin people. If you work with freelancers or agencies, disable their accounts once a project is done. Don't leave extra doors open for those. And the last step here is, it's optional. It's an advanced tip. Check your host account recovery details. So make sure that the email address that's tied to your hosting or domain registrar is current and secure. Quite often, these services will sometimes ask you for a verification. They might have 2FA, MFA installed as well, and they might send you an email or an SMS to verify your login. So make sure that those details are correct as well, especially if you've come into a business, if you've inherited a new business, or you've changed over some stuff, or you've had changes in the senior leadership. Make sure that your details are the ones that these services are going to come back to you for information on. Okay, so let me go. Once you've reset control, once you've confidently that you're the only one that's got the trusted logins, it's time to call in some backup, literally. Step 4 is all about getting help from the right people and knowing what they can and can't do for you. So once you've locked down the access, just make that a little bit bigger for you. It's time to get help, the right kind of help. This is where a lot of small business owners waste precious hours calling the wrong people and assuming that their host will magically fix everything. They don't. Think of this step as building your emergency crew. So each person plays a specific role. So here are the steps within this step 4. Start with your web host support team. Your host is probably going to be your first call because they control that environment where your site lives in, the server. They can take the site offline safely so that malware doesn't spread. They can restore a backup copy if one exists. Just note that sometimes hosts might only take a weekly backup, not a daily backup. So you have to think about that in advance. Check access logs, server access logs to see who's logged in when, or check the plugin history, that little plugin that I mentioned, and scan the server for obvious malicious files. And you can do that using WordFence. It can run a file scan. It scans through all your files on your WordPress on the server, and it can flag ones that it thinks are a bit suspicious. But here's the key for web hosts. They don't usually fix your site's code. Web hosts are like your landlord. You check for smoke and damage, but they don't repaint your walls. That's up to you. So when you contact them, be very clear and calm. You say something like, my website's been compromised. Please isolate it and preserve the backup copy before making any changes. So this tells them that you're organized and prevents them from kind of wiping out valuable evidence. Step 2 is contact your web developer or your tech person. So once the host has done their part, loop in your web developer. That might be a freelancer, or it might be an internal person. The developer handles removing malicious code, malicious files, cleaning up databases, reinstalling clean versions of maybe WordPress plugins and themes. They'll do some testing to ensure that the infection is gone. They might add monitoring tools like firewalls, like WordFence, two-factor authentication, get all that stuff set up. And they might then, send out to Google to try and clear up any warning pages or things in that nature. So it's really important to know who to contact after that, because you want to get online as fast as possible. So right now, or after this webinar, you want to make sure that you know the right people to contact if this happens, so that you're saving your time. So they're your mechanic, basically. The host provides the workshop, but the developer does the repairs. So in the food truck hack that I mentioned earlier, the host did quarantine the site, but they couldn't touch the code, or wouldn't touch the code, to be honest. So I came in the next morning, cleaned it up, and had them trading again, within a couple of days. So collaboration is really key to get you back online quickly. Number 3 is optional. This is a specialized cleanup services. So if you don't have a regular developer, if you don't know who to turn to, you can't get that IT contact, there are some reputable services that can do one-off cleanups. There is Sucuri, so S-U-C-U-R-I, and there's Malcare, M-A-L-C-A-R-E. They are 2 that I've had clients use in the past. They charge a flat fee and typically remove malware within hours, reinstall plugins, make sure that the thing is safe. After cleanup, they can also submit those requests to Google to lift any of these, this site might be harmful warnings or contain malicious links. So they can do all that for a one-off fee if you really don't have anywhere to turn to for that. But before paying anyone, check their reviews and ensure that they include a post-clean monitoring. So it's not just a quick wipe. It's to monitor your website over the next week or month, for example, just to make sure that everything is actually cleaned and the people are not getting back in somehow, the hackers. Number 4 is actually what not to do. That's why it's in red there. So don't post in random Facebook groups asking who can fix a hacked site cheaply. You will get a billion messages from unverified people all over the place offering instant fixes from $2 to $1,000. So stick with your existing relationships, your host, your developer, or one of these known security providers. So this is all about trust. It's not particularly about speed for that specific cleanup step. So in a website emergency, you need to know, you need a team. So you need to know who the host is, so they can contain the fire, who your developers or IT person is so they can repair the damage, and security services make sure that it doesn't flare up again. So once you have that support team and you know who they are and it's on, and you've handed over the evidence that you've gathered, your job basically shifts from reaction to prevention. So step 5 is all about locking it down, so you don't have to go through this whole process again. Fingers crossed. Alrighty, so you've made it through the emergency. The site is back online, passwords are reset, everything is working again. Now comes the most important part, is locking things down so you don't end up back here next month. So this step is all about prevention. Simple habits that protect your time, your money, and your sanity, because you don't want to go through this 2 or 3 times. So schedule in a monthly 15-minute website check. That's all we need to do. Treat it like a business health habit. So first up, auto updates. Most small business hacks happen because plugins or themes are months out of date. You've just been busy, you're running your business, you haven't had time, you haven't put the thing in your calendar, so you've not had time to go and check and update and make sure the website's all sparkly and running securely. So enabling auto updates can really help with this. It means that those security patches are applied automatically in the background. So WordPress specifically has an option where you can enable plugin by plugin themes as well to auto update. So whenever a patch is released, boom, that gets updated and your website's secure. Now, it's a digital equivalent of checking your smoke alarm batteries, every 6 months. For auto updates, if you're running a small business website, 2 or 3 pages, that's fine. Just auto update everything. It's unlikely that you're going to have a problem. However, if you've got a bigger business website, if you've got an e-commerce website or like a courses website or a membership website, then you've likely got a lot of plugins that's providing a lot of different features for that ecosphere to work. Now, in some circumstances, when you're updating WordPress plugins, sometimes there can be a conflict, and that can cause an error, and then that can bring your website down. It's nothing bad, nothing nefarious. It's just that, lots of plugins that work together, sometimes they don't do that nicely if you've got lots and lots of plugins. So if you are running these big plugins, this big e-commerce stuff, then what I would suggest is, and most web hosts do this, is to create what's called a staging or a development site. So it's a copy of your live website that runs in the background that only you have access to, that then you can then update the plugins. So you can make a fresh copy, go in, update all the plugins in there, make sure they're all update, and then check the front end of the website and the functionality, make sure it works. And if it does, that's fine. Then you can just reapply that to the live website. So it's just a little bit of a caveat. So rather than doing it on your live website, if you've got these big business websites, copy it over to a staging server and then update all that, make sure everything's fine and that they all work nicely together. And then you can apply that on the live website and be confident that it's going to work. Number 2 is keep backups offsite. So these are your safety net, of course. You hope you'll never need them, but you're very glad to have them when a disaster like this strikes. So make sure that your website is being backed up regularly and not just sitting on the same server. Why? Because if your host gets infected, that backup could get infected too. For WordPress, ensure that you back up the files and the database. So apart from image files and documents, WordPress stores pretty much everything in the database, so you need to be backing up that as well. So best practice for backups is aim for at least 2 copies, one with your host and one that you take in an offsite. Maybe it's a cloud storage like Google Drive or Dropbox. You can have tools like Updraft Plus, Blog Vault, or Jet Backup. Make these things really easy to automate. If you only have one backup, if you only have the one backup, you don't really have a backup. You really need 2. So what I mean by 2 is talk to your web host, ensure that they're doing a backup as well, but take your own backup so you've got access to that in an emergency, like the food truck. We had to wait hours before the web host came online because they're in America to ask them if we could get access to the backup. We didn't have access ourselves, and that you don't want to be in that situation. I think I've got this somewhere, but when should you take backups? I think a lot of people ask me like this. So if you've got a static website, like a one-page business website, monthly is fine. If you're updating content like blogs and stuff, then weekly. If you're running e-commerce, membership site, LMS type site, you want to be doing daily or probably hourly, like real-time backups as well. And there's different solutions for those. I don't want to get into them, but just kind of be aware that if you've got different types of site, you might need different types of backups. So number 3 is delete unused plugins and themes. Do a quick spring clean. Every inactive plugin or theme is another backdoor It's a possible backdoor that hackers can try and open. If you're not using it, delete it. Don't just deactivate it. You can always reinstall it later on. There's no problem with doing that. So even inactive files can be exploited if they're still sitting on your web server. And that's basically what happened with the food truck as well. There was a plugin that hadn't been updated in about 8 months. It had a new version ready to go, but it hadn't been updated on that server. And a hacker used that. They'd used a bit of that code within the plugin that allowed them to upload a separate file and bypass the normal WordPress security. And then they used that uploaded file to create an admin user for themselves. So yeah, so even if it's unused, deactivated, it still could be vulnerable. Step 4 is monitor with WordFence alerts or some sort of security plugin. So turn on ongoing monitoring so that you're not flying blind. Here's a screenshot of WordFence. So I like this plugin WordFence. I install it on all my websites. I install it on my client websites. 99% of the time I use the free version. Sometimes if they've got a big website like an e-commerce membership, then I'll urge the client to pay for the pro, at which they get daily update risk updates as they happen. Whereas the free version, you've usually got to wait 2 or 3 days. So this is awesome. If you like having this, it's like having a security guard who never sleeps, and doesn't bill overtime. So here's a screenshot here. It just gives you a quick lowdown as to if any issues and what it's done and what it's scanned and things like that. So you don't need to obsess on every alert that comes up. Just glance at the emails once a week. The goal is to be aware and not having anxiety. Number 5, optional bonus if you have time. There are a few extra habits worth mentioning briefly. One is review your users every quarterly. Remove old staff or old contractors if you're using your website that way. Make sure that your SSL certificate is renewing automatically. You want to make sure that every communication on that website is secure. We don't want the SSL certificate to expire because that sends unsecure data and also sends pretty bad trust signals to your client base as well. And keep all these contact details in your domain registrar up to date. So it's not just about the website, it's also about your domain name. So wherever you bought your domain name actually stores the contact details. So if after 5 or 6 years a domain is up for renewal, something like that, it will send an email out to the admin people and the contact people within that database for that domain. So make sure that you're logging into your domain registrar, the place where you bought your domain name, and make sure the contact details are yours. So when it comes around to renewing the domain, then it's sending you out a reminder that this is going to expire, because you don't want people to pick up your domain name if you've left it expired, because they'll get access to your whole website and your emails, and that's just another big nightmare security. So take these minutes to kind of close off all these sneaky loopholes. The key point here really is security isn't a one-time fix. It's a good habit that's done consistently. So I really urge you to add that into your calendar. If it's weekly, if weekly is too much, that's fine. But at least ensure that you've got a time slot monthly to spend 15-20 minutes on this process, just to make sure everything's updated, secure, all you got your details, your contacts, and everything is good to go. Okay, and that's it. That's your kind of 1 hour, roughly, website emergency plan. With these 5 steps, then you can respond quickly, you can recover safely, and you can prevent it from happening again, in the most part. So in the next, let's just have a quick poll. There we go. Alrighty, so before we wrap up, let's do a quick check-in. Nothing formal, and just see where everyone's at. Type 1 if you already have plugin updates turned on. 2 if you don't, or 3 if you're not really sure at all. So type the number in the chat. See where we're at. You might not have a WordPress website, so you might not need to do that. 3, no idea. Okay. Oh, that's okay. That's one thing on your to-do list for today, is to go in. Yep, we've got no as well. Okay. So yeah, so have a look at what type of website you have. If it's a small business kind of page, few pages, contact form, services, and then I would urge you to turn on auto updates. If it's a big business website, e-commerce membership, then have a chat to your web host and learn about this copy from live to staging or development, so that you can then do those updates properly. And that's great. Thanks for that, everyone. So here we are towards the end here. So remember, today wasn't really about turning you into cybersecurity experts. I'd love to do that, but we don't have time today. It's all about knowing what to do first when something feels a bit off, or something's happening with your website. So let's recap these steps quickly. So 1 is don't panic. You want to contain the damage. 2 is run your first 5 checks. You want to make sure that everything is, you want to capture that data as well, so you can give it to the person who's going to be fixing it. Then you want to reset access safely. Make sure that you're the one in control, that you've got all the keys, the only one that's got the keys to the website. You want to then call the right people in. So this means having a list of people that you can contact. So make sure you do that. Probably another thing on your to-do list today. So make sure you know who are the right people to call. And then spend that time, 50 minutes per week or 50 minutes per month, is locking it down for the future, making sure your website's updated and fixing all those little security. Yeah, Lauren's asking, can you please repeat the cleanup services and company? Yes, I can. I'll put it in the chat. So Curie is one of them, and is it Malcare is the next one, is Malcare. Secure is probably the one that people will recognize the most as the brand for those. That would be the first one I'd probably go to, is Security. If you don't have an IT person or at hand, they do those one-off services, and they tell you how much it is up front. You pay them, and then they do all that stuff, and they will lock it down. So I've had clients that have used Security in the past, and that's worked really well for them. Yep, so that's your roadmap. So whether you're on WordPress, Shopify, Wix, something else, these steps work every time. They're general principle steps that you can work through to kind of isolate that, gather the evidence, take back control, and then call the right people to get it fixed. The fact that you're here today means you're probably already ahead 90% of the small business owners who'll face this kind of issue unprepared, which is never good. You have the knowledge now to act fast and to protect your business website as an asset. So security, confidence doesn't come from knowing code. You don't need to know code. It just comes from having a plan, as everything in your website. If there's an issue, you want to have a plan in your business to address that. So speaking of having a plan, I've put everything that we've covered into a simple downloadable checklist that you can keep handy. So I've called it the website emergency checklist download. So you can QR code that there, or you can visit this page here. So if you visit zeropointdevelopment.com/SBM for Small Business Month, then you will see as a page for the cybersecurity webinar. There's also some links for this guide that you can download it. There's no email or stuff like that. It's just direct download. So it's 5 emergency response steps. I recap all the steps. There's a worksheets for your contact and your instant worksheets as well. And there's recommended tools and plugins. I think I mentioned the Security and Malcare for those as well in there. Okay, so have you got any questions? We're coming almost to the top of the hour. 1 minute left. How good was that? If you've got any questions, then you can drop them in the chat just now. Otherwise, if you give me a few hours today, you can visit that SBM. You can visit just now and download that. But then what I'll do is I'll upload this webinar for a replay, and I'll add the slides and stuff later on today or maybe tomorrow as well. So if you missed anything or want to recap, you'll be able to watch that at your leisure at some point later today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow. But if you've got any questions, then please let me know. You're welcome, Elizabeth. Yes, I appreciate your time as well, taking an hour out of your busy day to watch this. It's no small feat. Oh yeah, thank you, EC. Thank you. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions coming through, and I know you're all busy people. If you do have questions, you can visit zeropointdevelopment.com, and there's a contact page on there. You can contact me directly. Just put in the subject cybersecurity webinar, and I'll get that information. I can answer your questions if you've got specific questions. Laurel says, any Facebook professional dashboard safety advice? Facebook professional. What do you mean about that, Laurel? I'm not quite sure. Is that about Facebook itself? Because yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly what you're mentioning there. I'm just looking through if anyone else has got questions. Yeah, if you want to get in contact with me, Laurel, about that specific question, then just email me and I'll see what I can do. I'm not quite sure what aspect you're meaning about the Facebook dashboard there. I don't use Facebook very much. I'm mostly on LinkedIn these days. I'll go back to, let's see. There we go. Business account, not a personal account. For Facebook, yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest, Laurel. I don't really use Facebook very much. I used to use it, but it's got so much spam, it's got so much misinformation. They control the rules on Facebook as well. They change things, they give access, they deny access. It's really difficult for me to justify building my business model upon Facebook. I used to use them for groups a lot. I've actually moved to Telegram. So all my stuff, all my groups are hosted on Telegram mostly. I do have a couple of groups in Facebook that I update every so often, but I've seen a huge decline in Facebook over the last 2-3 years. There's not as many people using them. Most people are using Instagram now. Most of my business contacts are on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, if you can send me an email, I can try and give you some help. But yeah, I don't really work that much on Facebook these days. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go to run your business. Remember to have a look through the security plan, jot down those contacts. At least you've got something there ready to go if something happens. I wish upon you that this never happens to your business, but please take that time to make sure you secure your website. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. I am going to end the stream. I am doing another webinar next week. Let me just have a look. I can't believe I've forgotten what it is. Events, this one. Automation starter kit. It's going to save you 5 hours per week. So if you want to do that, then sign up for that one. You'll find it on the small business website schedule. Okay, everyone, thank you very much. Have a great day and hopefully see you in the next webinar. Bye, everyone.